Matt Gaetz spoke out for the first time about all the controversy concerning his attorney general nomination to lead the Department of Justice in Trump's new administration. He went back to Capitol Hill. He was meeting with senators, and after the meeting with the senators, he emerged and said things went really well. In fact, he told Newsweek, quote, "They've been going great. Senators have been giving a lot of good advice. I'm looking forward to a hearing. Folks have been very supportive. They've been saying we're going to get a fair process. It's a great day of momentum for the Trump-Vance administration." Matt Gaetz was flanked by J.D. Vance, Vice President-elect, and also Senator Marco Rubio, and emerged, like I said, from these meetings with a not a glimmer of hope, but as you can see here, a ray of beaming warm sunshine. Confidence, optimism that these senators are going to give him the fair shake that he deserves. Because once again, there have been no charges brought against Matt Gaetz. The DOJ investigation found nothing and was dismissed. Matt Gaetz got another piece of big news regarding his attorney general appointment. The ethics report from the Ethics Committee in Congress that was supposed to be released until Matt Gaetz resigned will not be released. This came out of a 2-hour meeting yesterday with the chairman. And as you can see, they blew right past the media and they declared that there was no consensus by the committee to release the report. So the report will not be released. Now, some Democrat Congress people are going to be fighting that. They're going to be calling for a vote to have it released. And in the Senate, a lot of what's in that report we expect to come out in the confirmation hearing. But as Congressman Gaetz said himself, it is a positive step forward. Breitbart reports the House Ethics Panel does not agree to release the report on Matt Gaetz. Following Wednesday's meeting, Michael Guest, chairman of the House Committee on Ethics, told reporters that the committee did not reach an agreement to release the highly anticipated report on Gaetz, who resigned from Congress after President-elect Donald Trump tapped him to serve as Attorney General. There was not an agreement by the committee to release the report. According to reports, many members refrained from providing details to the press. Others indicate that the report is still not completed and that they plan to finish it and meet again in December. This is highly irregular that the Ethics Committee would finish a report about a member who's no longer a member of Congress. It's investigating somebody that you don't really have jurisdiction over, which is, again, an odd thing to do. Also, not a lot gets done in Congress in December, so I doubt that John Rutherford and the rest of the folks on that ethics committee are going to be working too diligently on this report. And they should, at this point, just let the Senate confirmation process move forward. If that's something they're going to do, that still remains to be seen. There is other information, though, about President Trump's cabinet. It's coming together as President Trump made 2 more nominations yesterday. President Trump released a statement from his transition team. "I am very pleased to announce that former ambassador and former Congressman Pete Hoekstra has been nominated as my United States ambassador to Canada." Pete is well respected in the great state of Michigan, a state he won sizably. He represented Michigan's 2nd District in Congress for nearly 20 years, where he was also chairman of the House Intelligence Committee and was a great help to our campaign as chairman of the Michigan Republican Party. "I overhauled the disastrous NAFTA agreement, the worst trade deal in the history of the United States, which was switched to the USMCA, which no one thought could be done. We brought trade with Mexico, so on and so forth." Pete did an outstanding job as a United States ambassador to the Netherlands during his first 4 years. He's confident he will continue to represent our country well in this new role. Now, Pete has an interesting job. There's a lot going on with Canada. Of course, there is the USMCA, and there's also going to be a lot of other trade agreements that President Trump is going to look to revamp. Also, we got word yesterday that President Trump will be reinstating the Keystone XL pipeline, which brings all kinds of crude oil from Alaska and other parts north into the United States of America. It's a huge work project. It's a boon for American oil production, and it's something that never, ever, ever should have been stymied in the first place. But that's, we're not talking about the Biden administration here. We're talking about the Trump administration. And so it's going to be an important job to be ambassador to Canada. Also, Pete Hoekstra can help with all of those famous Californians and entertainment industry professionals who will be migrating to Canada now that President Trump is president. Hopefully he can help them with passports and visas and whatnot. Another high-profile appointment that President Trump made was acting Attorney General Matthew G. Whitaker from Iowa will be the United States ambassador to NATO. And that is an interesting pick and an interesting position. President Trump went on to write, Matt is a strong warrior and loyal patriot who will ensure the United States interests are advanced and defended. Matt will strengthen relationships with our NATO allies and stand firm in the face of threats to peace and stability. He will put America first. I have full confidence in Matt's ability to represent the United States with strength, integrity, and unwavering dedication. I look forward to working closely with him as we continue to promote peace through strength. Now, the interesting thing about Attorney General Matt Whitaker is that NATO is not something that President Trump has ever been a fan of, and NATO requires, in President Trump's mind, the same kind of attention that the rest of government does. For example, the way he's going to put Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy in charge of, cutting the cost and the waste in the United States federal government, I believe he's going to put Matt Whitaker in charge of cutting down the waste and the investment by the United States of America in NATO, which is an unfair investment. What the United States pays for NATO and to support NATO and to defend our NATO allies is exorbitantly disproportional. Something like 97% of all NATO expenses come from the United States of America. And fun fact, we're the farthest away from the actual threats that NATO faces from those Eastern Bloc former Soviet countries. And so what Donald Trump has done in his first term, and I know what he'll look to do again, is to go back and tell those countries, you have to start paying up. If you want our protection, you've got to give us the money. If you want NATO to exist and NATO to thrive, you have to invest your fair share. Liberals are always talking about their fair share and spreading the wealth around. Well, now would be a great time to do that, and Matt Whitaker is going to be put in charge. Also, Matt Whitaker becomes the NATO ambassador at a very interesting time because we just got word yesterday that Russia has fired an intercontinental ballistic missile into Ukraine. This came right after Ukraine, with the blessing of President Joe Biden, who apparently is hell-bent on starting or inflating this conflict before he leaves, gave permission to Ukraine to use ATACMS missiles provided by Great Britain to fire directly into, farther into Russia than they ever have before, which they did. And in retaliation, President Putin shot an ICBM right into Kyiv. There was significant damage. We do not believe it had a nuclear warhead on it because there would have been much more damage. But it was a surefire sign that Russia is armed and they are willing to use whatever armaments they have to protect what Putin believes is his sovereign territory. So as this war escalates toward the end of this year, as this war and this conflict gets more and more deadly and the threats become more and more destructive, it looks like President Trump and Matt Whitaker are going to have a task at hand, and Matt Whitaker is the tough guy that Donald Trump wants to put in charge. Now, there is positive news. Vladimir Putin has also expressed that he's open to a peace plan. He said he will sit down and he will talk about a ceasefire with Ukraine, but only if President-elect Trump leads the conversation. In Newsweek, they report Putin open to Trump's Ukraine peace plan aims to avoid concessions. Russian President Vladimir Putin has indicated he is open to negotiating a ceasefire in Ukraine with incoming U.S. President Donald Trump. Not Joe Biden, not Kamala Harris, not Anthony Blinken, not anybody else who's currently in charge, but he will sit down with President Trump. However, he remains firm on his critical conditions, including he will not give any territorial concessions. Now, President Trump has always said that he looks to end this conflict quickly. That he looks to, as soon as he's nominated or as soon as he wins election, he said that he could very quickly end this conflict, and I know that he will. Because President Trump does not want any raging wars during his 4 years as president. He never started a new war. He did whatever he could to end existing wars, and that is something that he's going to that's something he's going to continue to work with now with Matt Whitaker, who is the NATO ambassador. Again, a job which at one point nobody thought would be as important as it is. Also, it'll be interesting to see because one of the stipulations that Putin has always put forward in a ceasefire is that Ukraine not be allowed to join NATO. And one of the carrots that Joe Biden and his administration have always dangled in front of Vladimir Zelensky was acceptance into NATO so that they would get instant protection from Russia, which would be disastrous for all the other NATO countries. Like I said, it's an important position in President Trump's cabinet, and it goes to Matt Whitaker. Speaking of Doge, there was an interesting committee or a caucus rather that was formed in Congress, which shows that Congress is truly on board with President Trump's vision. And that is the Doge Caucus. Representative Aaron Bean from Florida's 4th District, he announced that he and Pete Sessions from Texas 17 have launched the Doge Caucus, which stands for Delivering Outstanding Government Efficiency Caucus to reduce waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government. Specifically, the caucus is committed to supporting President-elect Donald Trump's Department of Government Efficiency. Congressman Bean says our national debt has surpassed a staggering $36 trillion and should be a wake-up call for all Americans. We must take action to avoid driving headfirst off the cliff of fiscal ruin. He officially launched the caucus when he went to Congress and he spoke to the floor and to the Speaker of the House, and he said, "Here's what President-elect Trump needs. Here's what we're willing to do."
President-elect Trump appointed Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy to lead the Department of Government Efficiency. Their goal to dismantle the out-of-control bureaucracy, cut wasteful programs, and restructure federal agencies. Taking on Crazy Town is no easy task. Elon and Vivek will need partners in Congress to accomplish many of the cuts that are necessary to rein in the unelected bureaucrats who have enjoyed unchecked power for far too long. Mr. Speaker, that's why I've created the Delivering Outstanding Government Efficiency Caucus. The Doge Caucus will work with President Trump, Elon, and Vivek to reduce fraud, waste, and abuse. Together, we will take bold steps to end Washington's reckless spending addiction.
Yeah, and this is an important move forward because, as President Trump has said, or as news networks have falsely reported, President Trump is not giving Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, two unappointed, unchecked, businessmen, the right or the power or the authority to fire anyone in the federal government or disband any agency. They don't have that. They don't have that kind of power. That's not what they're there for. They're there as advisors. They're there as consultants. They're there as outliers to look at the government and find where the waste is and then make recommendations to President Trump, the executive branch, and Congress as to what can be reduced. The Doge Caucus, with the newly formed Doge Caucus in the House of Representatives, shows that the Republican Congresspeople, or at least a majority of the Republican Congresspeople, are serious about working with Elon Musk, serious about working with Vivek Ramaswamy, and serious about working now with Congressman Bean and Congressman Sessions to get this done. When Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency make their recommendations to the White House and to Congress, now they have powerful people in charge who will actually take those recommendations seriously, which is nice to see. And speaking of serious, there's one serious topic that President Trump weighed in on yesterday, and that is, of course, Laken Riley's killer being brought to justice. President Trump wrote on Truth Social yesterday, "Justice for Laken Riley. The illegal who killed our beloved Laken Riley was just found guilty on all counts for his horrific crimes. Although the pain and heartbreak will last forever, hopefully this can help bring some peace and closure to her wonderful family who fought for justice and to ensure that other families don't have to go through what they have. We love you, Laken, and our hearts will always be with you. It is time to secure our border and remove these criminals and thugs from our country so nothing like this can happen again." Laken Riley's killer received life in prison, not the death penalty, which some people were hoping for. They did not get. One more programming note: we do have a second podcast, Mark Kaye Saves the Republic, which is our daily commentary podcast, and we are very excited today to have the daughter of Susan Wiles. Susan Wiles is President Trump's chief of staff, the first female to ever hold the role, and arguably the most popular of President Trump's cabinet picks. In fact, when she was chosen as the first member of President Trump's cabinet, of his administration, to lead the White House as chief of staff, there was zero it seems like pushback from anybody on either side or in the media. Her daughter, Katie Wiles, will be joining us today later on, noon Eastern, 11 Central, on Mark Kaye Saves the Republic, to talk about her mother, to talk about this historic position, and to talk about how she's going to help President Trump Make America Great Again. If you would like to listen to that podcast, or if you'd like to listen to our, any of our podcasts, it's Mark Kaye Saves the Republic, and it's available on iTunes. It's available on Spotify. It's available wherever you get your podcasts. Download Mark Kaye Saves the Republic for more information and news, not just about President Trump, but about what's going on in the United States of America. Download, listen, and enjoy.